The galactic empires, known across the universe for their unmatched technological dominance, had little interest in Earth. To them, it was a backwater planet, devoid of strategic value. However, that perception changed when an unprecedented energy signature pulsed from Earth's surface. It was faint yet unique, unlike anything recorded in their extensive galactic archives. The empires convened in a rare alliance. Their coalition of fleets, each brimming with destructive firepower, was dispatched to investigate, and if necessary, claim this mysterious source of power. Their leaders were confident. Earth was technologically primitive. Humanity posed no threat. To them, it was another easy conquest. When the fleets descended, Earth's skies filled with massive alien warships, blotting out the sun in many regions. Panic swept across the planet as humanity scrambled to respond. Cities were overrun with chaos. Governments, while prepared for earthly conflicts, were unready for such an overwhelming extraterrestrial force. Within hours, communications collapsed, and the world was thrust into confusion and fear. The invaders wasted no time. Their first phase was to suppress any resistance. A show of strength was demonstrated through targeted strikes, devastating blasts that erased entire city blocks. Despite the destruction, the invaders avoided widespread annihilation, opting instead to subdue the planet's population intact. Their goal was resource extraction, not extermination. Humanity's resistance efforts, while valiant, were hopelessly ineffective. Military forces launched counterattacks with their most advanced weapons, but even their best efforts barely scratched the alien ships. Fighters and tanks were rendered obsolete. Attempts to engage the invaders in ground combat ended in brutal losses. The coalition fleet's technology, forged from centuries of interstellar conflict, was far beyond anything humanity had ever imagined. As chaos gripped the world, attention turned to the epicenter of the energy pulse that had drawn the invaders. It originated from an ancient site buried deep within a remote, unassuming region of the planet. The location had long been considered insignificant, holding no value beyond vague historical curiosity. But the energy signature emanating from its depths told a different story. This site, it seemed, was not just old, it was ancient, predating humanity's written history. Galactic scientists dispatched to the site were astonished. The ruins defied analysis, composed of materials that didn't match Earth's known geology. The site's engravings bore intricate patterns, symbols, and language entirely unrecognizable. Attempts to decode its purpose led to dead ends, frustrating even the coalition's most advanced artificial intelligence systems. Despite this, one thing was clear: whatever lay dormant beneath the ruins was immensely powerful and utterly foreign, even to the galactic empires. The coalition's leadership dismissed the ruins as a curiosity. To them, it was merely another anomaly, a remnant of some long-extinct civilization. Their focus shifted to ensuring the total pacification of Earth, but their scientists insisted on further exploration. The leaders reluctantly authorized limited excavation. As the ruins were probed, strange phenomena began to unfold. The ground trembled intermittently, though no tectonic activity was recorded. Unexplained energy surges caused temporary malfunctions in coalition machinery. Even the most advanced ships experienced sudden failures in their shielding systems when hovering above the site. These occurrences were dismissed as environmental anomalies. However, among the humans observing from the shadows, unease was growing. Local communities, well aware of the myths surrounding the area, began to whisper that something was awakening. The coalition scientists ignored the warnings and continued their excavation. Layers of the ruins were peeled away, revealing a network of tunnels that stretched miles beneath the surface. At the center of this labyrinth, they discovered a chamber unlike anything seen before. It was vast, illuminated by a faint, pulsating glow emanating from a colossal object embedded in the ground. The object's surface appeared metallic yet organic, constantly shifting as though alive. Unbeknownst to the coalition, their tampering had set a sequence in motion. As they drilled into the object for further study, the pulsations intensified. The faint glow brightened, casting the chamber in a blinding light. Instruments recorded an exponential rise in energy levels, surpassing any known power source in the galaxy. Above ground, the consequences were immediate. The earth around the site split open, creating massive fissures. A deafening roar, more a vibration than a sound, reverberated across the region. Coalition commanders ordered an immediate evacuation of their scientific teams. For the first time, fear crept into their voices. In their arrogance, the coalition leaders had believed they could exploit the ruins without consequence. What they failed to understand was that the energy signature was not a dormant relic waiting to be harnessed. It was a warning. The ancient mechanisms, now fully activated, began to reshape the surrounding landscape. What had been a quiet, unassuming site turned into a scene of cataclysmic upheaval. Storm clouds gathered unnaturally fast, blotting out the sun. Lightning struck in rapid succession, carving trails of fire across the ground. The invaders' ships, hovering too close, were struck with devastating force, sending several crashing to the earth in plumes of smoke and fire. Despite the escalating chaos, coalition forces were slow to react. They underestimated the scale of the threat, believing their superior technology would allow them to regain control. They sent reinforcements to secure the site, even as their ground troops reported being overwhelmed by the violent environmental changes. For humanity, these events were both terrifying and strangely hopeful. News of the mysterious events at the ruins spread rapidly, reaching even the most remote corners of the world. Amidst the fear and destruction, whispers of an ancient protector began to surface. In some cultures, old legends were re-examined and parallels drawn. It seemed too coincidental to ignore the idea that Earth itself might harbor something capable of challenging even the mighty galactic empires. The coalition commanders, now desperate, ordered a full-scale bombardment of the ruins. Orbital cannons were aimed at the site, unleashing immense firepower. Yet, as the dust settled, the ruins remained intact. The pulsating energy not only persisted but had grown stronger, enveloping the area in an impenetrable barrier. At this point, the coalition's confidence began to erode. Reports of strange phenomena were now coming in from across the planet. The tremors, once localized, had spread globally. Magnetic fields fluctuated wildly, disrupting navigation systems. Atmospheric disturbances grew increasingly violent, making it impossible for even advanced technology to operate without issue. The coalition had unknowingly triggered something far greater than they could comprehend. What they had awakened was not merely an artifact of ancient Earth, it was the planet's last line of defense. And it was only just beginning to stir. The ground trembled with increasing intensity, as though the planet itself was responding to the disturbance. What had been a faint energy signature now surged into a continuous, powerful pulse. This shift was not accidental. It was deliberate, triggered by the invasive actions of the Galactic Coalition. Deep beneath the surface, something long dormant began to stir, responding to the disturbance with calculated purpose. The Coalition scientists, still fixated on their discoveries, failed to recognize the significance of their actions. Their sophisticated instruments, once reliable, started to malfunction. Systems designed to analyze energy sources and geological formations delivered erratic, contradictory readings. Equipment would inexplicably shut down, leaving the researchers increasingly frustrated. What they could not understand was that they were no longer dealing with a passive phenomenon. They had activated something sentient, something with intent. As the activity intensified, the energy pulses began to interfere with the broader operations of the Coalition fleet. Ships in orbit reported sudden power failures, navigational errors, and shielding malfunctions. The disruptions were dismissed by commanders as technical glitches, but the pattern was undeniable. The Coalition's most advanced technologies, those designed to dominate entire star systems, were faltering against an unknown force. The realization that their technology was vulnerable started to unsettle the leadership, though they refused to acknowledge the scope of the threat. The structure beneath the ruins, now fully activated, began to reveal its true nature. What had appeared as an isolated artifact was, in reality, part of an interconnected system spanning the planet. Energy conduits, buried for millennia, began to light up across vast distances, forming a web of glowing lines visible even from space. These lines were not random, they followed a precise pattern, as though they were veins in the planet itself, channeling immense power to a central source. Within this system, the awakening entity began to take shape. It was not a machine in the conventional sense, nor was it a living being as the Galactic Coalition understood life. It was a construct of Earth's oldest civilization, designed with a singular purpose: to protect the planet from existential threats. This civilization, long erased from history, had foreseen the dangers that might one day come from beyond the stars. They had left behind a guardian, a force bound to the planet itself, capable of defending it when all else failed. The awakening process was not instantaneous. It was deliberate and methodical, as though the entity was assessing the situation before fully emerging. The energy patterns grew more complex, radiating a frequency that disrupted even the Coalition's communications. Attempts to send signals to their command ships resulted in static or incomplete transmissions. Panic began to ripple through the lower ranks as the scale of the unknown became apparent. Despite these signs, the Coalition's leaders maintained their stance of superiority. Orders were given to accelerate the excavation and capture whatever was causing the disturbances. Ground forces, equipped with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy, were sent deeper into the ruins. Their objective was to neutralize the source of the energy and bring it under control. What they encountered, however, defied all expectations. As the troops descended into the tunnels, the environment grew increasingly hostile. Temperatures fluctuated wildly, and the walls themselves seemed to pulse in response to their presence. Advanced scanning equipment failed to map the tunnels, with sections appearing to shift or collapse entirely. Soldiers reported hearing low-frequency sounds that resonated deep within their chests, creating a sense of unease. The deeper they ventured, the more it became clear that this was not a structure built for exploration, it was a defense system. The Coalition's forces attempted to use brute force to break through the barriers they encountered. Explosives, energy drills, and even plasma-based weaponry were deployed, but the tunnels remained intact. The materials were impervious to their most advanced technologies, resisting even molecular-level disintegration. This was the first direct evidence that they were facing a force far beyond their comprehension. Above ground, the energy signature reached a critical threshold. The pulses, now synchronized with the glowing network across the planet, created a resonance that affected the entire ecosystem. Oceans responded with massive tidal shifts, and the atmosphere became charged with static electricity, leading to unpredictable weather patterns. These changes were not random. They were part of the entity's awakening, a process that drew power from every corner of the planet. The Coalition's scientists, still struggling to analyze the data, began to grasp the scale of their mistake. What they had dismissed as an ancient artifact was, in fact, a planetary defense mechanism. The realization came too late. By the time they relayed their findings to the fleet commanders, the process was irreversible. As the final phase of awakening approached, the ground near the ruins began to fracture. Chasms opened, releasing bursts of energy that disrupted everything in their vicinity. Coalition vehicles and machinery were rendered useless, their systems fried by the intense electromagnetic fields. Troops on the ground retreated in disarray, their confidence shattered. For the first time, the Coalition faced an adversary they could not overpower with technology or sheer numbers. The central point of the awakening entity, now fully active, emitted a burst of light that temporarily blinded all sensors. When the light subsided, what emerged was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The entity, towering and radiant, was not a physical being in the traditional sense. It was a manifestation of the planet's core energy, shaped by the intentions of its creators. Its presence was overwhelming, both in scale and in the sheer power it radiated. The Coalition's response was immediate. Commanders ordered a full-scale assault, deploying their most powerful weapons. Orbital cannons targeted the entity with precision strikes, unleashing destructive energy capable of obliterating entire cities. Yet, as the dust cleared, the entity remained unscathed. It absorbed the attacks, its form shimmering with a brilliance that seemed to mock their efforts. In the face of this invulnerability, the Coalition's arrogance began to crumble. For all their technological advancements and military might, they were powerless against a force that operated on principles they could not understand. The entity's activation had fundamentally changed the balance of power. Earth, once seen as a vulnerable target, had become an impenetrable fortress. This moment marked a turning point in the conflict. The coalition, for the first time in its history, faced the reality of defeat. The entity, though silent, communicated its intent through its actions. It was not interested in negotiation or compromise. Its purpose was clear: to protect the planet at all costs, regardless of the invaders' motivations or capabilities. The coalition's fleet, now in disarray, began to withdraw from the immediate area. Their commanders, previously so confident in their superiority, were forced to confront the possibility that they had unleashed a force beyond their control. The Galactic Coalition, reeling from the unexpected resistance of Earth's awakened guardian, regrouped to launch a full-scale counteroffensive. Their fleets, assembled from the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, were designed to overpower entire star systems. This time, they prepared for a prolonged engagement, deploying their most lethal technology to neutralize the planetary force that had defied their initial assault. They underestimated the nature of their adversary. The Guardian, now fully active, was not limited by conventional warfare or technology. It operated on principles rooted in the essence of the planet itself, drawing power from Earth's natural systems. Every action taken by the coalition was countered with precision, as though the entity anticipated their strategies. The coalition's massive warships, equipped with shields and weapons capable of decimating moons, began to falter in the face of the Guardian's unrelenting energy. The fleet unleashed an array of superweapons, each designed to disrupt or destroy planetary defenses. These included gravitational disruptors capable of destabilizing tectonic plates, energy cannons designed to vaporize entire regions, and drones programmed for precision strikes. Yet none of these proved effective. The Guardian absorbed the impacts, redirecting their energy back into the planet's defense network. The result was catastrophic for the coalition forces. Every attempt to overwhelm the Guardian met with escalating failures. The entity leveraged Earth's natural elements to launch counterattacks. Massive storms formed abruptly, their lightning strikes targeting key vessels. Oceans rose in coordinated surges, creating tsunamis that engulfed ground operations. Seismic activity, seemingly under the Guardian's control, split the Earth beneath coalition bases, swallowing entire units. These actions were not random. They were calculated, designed to dismantle the coalition's offensive capabilities systematically. The coalition, unprepared for such resistance, began to lose cohesion. Communications between ships and ground forces were disrupted by the electromagnetic fields generated by the Guardian. Advanced systems designed for seamless coordination failed, leaving commanders isolated and struggling to adapt. The morale of their troops plummeted as they realized they were not facing a conventional enemy, but a force that operated on an entirely different scale. Amid the chaos, the coalition sought to exploit potential vulnerabilities. Scientists and strategists worked tirelessly to analyze the Guardian's behavior, searching for patterns that could reveal a weakness. Their efforts yielded little. The Guardian's responses were too adaptive, its power too deeply integrated with the planet. Even their most advanced artificial intelligence systems could not predict its actions with any reliability. The coalition's attempts to involve their broader alliances proved equally fruitless. The galactic empires, witnessing the struggles of their coalition, hesitated to commit additional resources. To them, the conflict with Earth's Guardian was becoming a costly and unwinnable endeavor. Their reluctance left the coalition increasingly isolated, fighting not just the Guardian but also the growing realization of their inevitable failure. Despite the mounting losses, the coalition pressed forward, driven by a combination of desperation and hubris. They believed that sheer numbers and relentless aggression could eventually wear down the Guardian's defenses. This belief proved misguided. The Guardian, fueled by the planet's resources, showed no signs of fatigue or depletion. Each wave of attacks only seemed to strengthen its resolve, as though the entity was learning and evolving with every encounter. The turning point came when the coalition deployed their most elite forces, specialized units trained for planetary incursions against advanced civilizations. These forces, equipped with experimental weaponry and supported by the remaining fleet's full firepower, launched a coordinated assault on the Guardian's core location. The attack was intended to be decisive, a final push to reclaim control. Instead, it became a rout. The Guardians' countermeasures were swift and overwhelming. The elite units, despite their advanced training and equipment, were rendered ineffective within moments of engaging the entity. Their weapons malfunctioned, their armor failed, and their strategies crumbled under the weight of an opponent that adapted faster than they could react. The Guardians' response was so thorough that it left no survivors to report back. This decisive failure shattered the Coalition's remaining confidence. Their fleet, already stretched thin, began to retreat in disarray. Ships abandoned their positions, prioritizing survival over the mission. Commanders, once steadfast in their belief in victory, faced the reality that they were outmatched. The Coalition's unity dissolved as each faction sought to preserve its own forces, leaving Earth and its Guardian uncontested. As the Coalition withdrew, the Guardian did not pursue them. Its actions were not driven by vengeance or conquest, but by the singular purpose of protecting Earth. The planet's natural systems, which had been pushed to their limits during the conflict, began to stabilize under the Guardian's influence. The storms subsided, the seismic activity ceased, and the planet returned to a state of uneasy calm. The aftermath of the conflict was a stark reminder of the Coalition's hubris. What they had dismissed as a primitive planet had revealed itself as a bastion of resilience, its guardian an unparalleled force of nature. The Coalition's failure left a lasting impact on the galactic empires, challenging their assumptions about power and dominance. Earth, once seen as insignificant, had become a symbol of defiance, its guardian a legend that would echo across the stars. The Coalition's defeat was not just a tactical loss but a profound shift in their understanding of the universe. They had encountered a force that operated beyond the boundaries of their knowledge, one that reminded them of the limits of their technology and the arrogance of their ambitions. For Earth, the Guardian's victory was not just a moment of survival but a testament to the planet's enduring strength. The battle had ended, but the legacy of the Guardian and its defiance had only just begun. The Coalition's failures forced its leaders into a desperate course of action. Despite the overwhelming losses and the collapse of their fleet's cohesion, they refused to concede defeat. The commanders, now fully aware of the Guardian's power, authorized the deployment of their ultimate weapon, a device engineered to annihilate entire planets. This weapon, a culmination of centuries of technological advancement, was rarely used and had never failed. Its purpose was simple: to erase the target completely, leaving no trace of resistance. The decision to activate the weapon came with immense risks. Deploying such destructive force so close to their own fleets threatened collateral damage. However, the Coalition was past the point of caution. Their reputations and dominance across the galaxy were on the line. Failure to subdue Earth and its Guardian would undermine the Empire's authority, making them vulnerable to rebellion and dissent within their own territories. As the weapon was prepared, the Coalition fleet shifted focus to protecting its deployment process. This involved creating a perimeter around the massive device, which required time to charge before firing. Troops were redeployed to secure the area, and defensive measures were bolstered to prevent any interference from the Guardian. The remaining commanders coordinated a strategy to draw the Guardian's attention away from the weapon, sending their forces into a series of diversionary attacks. The Guardian, sensing the escalation, shifted its actions accordingly. It no longer focused solely on countering immediate threats. Instead, it began targeting key components of the Coalition's infrastructure, dismantling their ability to operate effectively. Communications hubs, command centers, and supply chains were systematically disrupted, leaving the Coalition increasingly fragmented. The entity's strikes were precise, minimizing unnecessary destruction while maximizing the impact on the Coalition's capabilities. The Coalition's weapon continued to charge, its energy levels rising to catastrophic thresholds. This process, however, was not without consequences. The weapon's activation began to destabilize the region of space around it. Gravitational anomalies appeared, creating unpredictable hazards for the remaining fleet. Ships struggled to maintain their positions, and several smaller vessels were lost to the chaotic environment. Despite these complications, the coalition pressed on, convinced that the weapon's deployment was their only path to victory. As the Guardian became aware of the weapon's presence, its actions became increasingly deliberate. It redirected its efforts, focusing on neutralizing the immediate threat. The entity's ability to adapt and strategize became even more apparent as it exploited the coalition's vulnerabilities. Using the planet's resources and energy network, the Guardian launched a direct assault on the weapon's defensive perimeter. The coalition, determined to protect their ultimate weapon, threw everything they had into the battle. Troops and ships were sacrificed to buy time, creating a brutal and chaotic conflict. The Guardian, undeterred by the resistance, continued to press forward. Its connection to the planet allowed it to sustain itself even as the intensity of the battle grew. The coalition's forces, by contrast, were rapidly depleting their resources and losing their ability to maintain cohesion. As the weapon neared full charge, the Guardian's attacks reached a critical point. The defensive perimeter surrounding the weapon began to falter. Key structures were destroyed, and the coalition's remaining troops were pushed back. The Guardian's actions were relentless, driven by the imperative to neutralize the existential threat posed by the weapon. In a final act of desperation, the coalition's leaders decided to activate the weapon prematurely. This decision, made in the heat of the moment, carried immense risks. The weapon systems were not fully stabilized, and the potential for catastrophic failure loomed large. Despite these dangers, the coalition was willing to gamble everything on a chance at victory. The activation process triggered a chain reaction within the weapon, unleashing a massive surge of energy. This energy, intended to obliterate the planet, began to spiral out of control. The Guardian, recognizing the imminent danger, launched a decisive attack. Drawing on the planet's full energy reserves, the entity directed a concentrated strike at the weapon's core. The resulting clash of forces created an event of unprecedented scale. The weapon's energy, destabilized by the Guardian's attack, erupted in a catastrophic explosion. The blast radiated across the battlefield, consuming everything in its path. Coalition ships, already weakened, were obliterated by the shockwave. The fleet, once a symbol of galactic power, was reduced to scattered remnants. The Guardian, though heavily impacted by the explosion, endured. Its connection to the planet allowed it to absorb the energy and redirect it into stabilizing Earth's natural systems. The weapon, along with the coalition's hopes of victory, was destroyed. The cost of their hubris was total, leaving the empires with nothing but the remnants of their failure. The coalition's gamble had backfired spectacularly. Their ultimate weapon, a symbol of their technological dominance, had been turned against them. The Guardian's ability to counter their most advanced efforts revealed the limitations of their power. What they had assumed to be an easy conquest had become a lesson in the consequences of underestimating the unknown. The destruction of the weapon marked the end of the coalition's campaign. Their remaining forces, scattered and demoralized, retreated from Earth's orbit. The galactic empires, watching from afar, took note of the devastating consequences. Earth's Guardian had not only defended the planet but had also shattered the perception of invincibility that the coalition had cultivated for centuries. This failure would resonate across the galaxy, altering the balance of power and forcing empires to reconsider their strategies. For Earth, the destruction of the coalition's weapon was not just a victory, it was a statement. The Guardian's actions had demonstrated the planet's resilience and the futility of attempting to dominate it. The coalition's defeat was not just a military loss, it was a humbling reminder of the limits of their ambition. In the aftermath, Earth's Guardian began the process of restoring the planet's balance. The scars of the conflict, though deep, would heal over time. The coalition's weapon, once a harbinger of destruction, was now a testament to the power of a force rooted in the planet itself. The conflict had ended, but its impact would be felt across the galaxy for generations. The lesson was clear: Earth and its Guardian were not to be underestimated, no matter how advanced or powerful the threat. The coalition's retreat signaled the end of their campaign, leaving Earth to recover from the devastation. The Guardian, having fulfilled its purpose, began the process of stabilizing the planet. While the immediate threat had passed, the impact of the conflict left a profound mark on Earth and the wider galaxy. The Guardians' actions had not only secured Earth's survival, but had also redefined its place in the universe. Earth's governments, having witnessed the Guardians' power, faced the monumental task of rebuilding. The destruction caused by the Coalition's invasion had left cities in ruins and ecosystems disrupted. Yet the Guardians' intervention had prevented complete annihilation, preserving the core elements needed for recovery. The planet's natural systems, bolstered by the Guardians' influence, began to heal at a pace that defied expectations. This regeneration served as a reminder of the Guardians' connection to the planet and its role as a protector. For humanity, the Guardians' presence brought both awe and introspection. Its activation had uncovered a history long buried and forgotten, revealing that Earth's past was far more complex than previously understood. Archaeologists and historians worked tirelessly to study the ruins and decipher the remnants of the ancient civilization that had created the Guardian. The realization that this civilization had anticipated threats from beyond the stars raised questions about humanity's own preparedness and resilience. The Guardian's actions also inspired a shift in humanity's perspective. Where once the focus had been on internal divisions and conflicts, there was now a sense of unity and purpose. The knowledge that Earth had faced a galactic power and emerged victorious fueled a collective determination to protect the planet and its resources. This newfound resolve extended to addressing the environmental and societal challenges that had plagued humanity for generations. Globally, governments established coalitions to coordinate efforts for rebuilding and preparing for potential future threats. These alliances transcended borders, prioritizing the planet's well-being over individual interests. The Guardian's role as a catalyst for unity became a central theme in this new era, symbolizing the power of collective action and the importance of safeguarding Earth's legacy. The impact of the conflict extended beyond Earth. News of the Coalition's defeat spread rapidly across the galaxy, shaking the foundations of the empires that had once dominated. The Coalition, once seen as an unstoppable force, now bore the stigma of failure. This loss not only weakened their hold over their territories but also emboldened other civilizations to challenge their authority. Rebellions erupted across the Coalition's domain, fueled by the knowledge that even their most powerful weapons had failed against the Guardian. The galactic empires were forced to reevaluate their strategies and priorities. The lesson from Earth's defense was clear: technological superiority alone was not enough to guarantee dominance. The existence of the Guardian introduced a new variable, one that could not be quantified or controlled. This realization prompted a shift in how empires approached their expansion and interactions with other civilizations. Diplomatic overtures began to replace aggressive conquests as empires sought to avoid another catastrophic defeat. Earth, once overlooked as insignificant, became a focal point of galactic attention. Some civilizations viewed it with reverence, recognizing the Guardian as a force beyond their comprehension. Others approached with caution, wary of provoking another confrontation. For Earth, this new status presented both opportunities and challenges. The planet's leaders were thrust into a role of galactic significance, navigating complex relationships with civilizations far more advanced than their own. The Guardian's presence served as both a deterrent and a reminder of the responsibility that came with its power. Humanity had proven its resilience, but it was clear that maintaining this position required careful stewardship of the planet and its resources. The Guardian, now dormant, remained a silent presence. Its actions had secured Earth's survival, but its creators had left no instructions or explanations for its purpose beyond protection. This mystery fueled ongoing research and debate, with scholars and scientists exploring the implications of the Guardian's existence. Was it meant to be a permanent safeguard, or had its activation been a one-time event? These questions underscored humanity's efforts to better understand its own history and the legacy of the civilization that had come before. In the years following the conflict, Earth underwent a transformation. The scars of the invasion, while still visible, became symbols of resilience and renewal. Monuments were erected to commemorate the lives lost and the unity that had emerged in the face of overwhelming odds. The Guardian's role in this victory became a central narrative, inspiring generations to value the planet and its resources. Globally, scientific advancements accelerated as humanity sought to build on the knowledge revealed by the Guardian's activation. Research into sustainable energy, environmental restoration, and advanced technology flourished, driven by the understanding that Earth's survival depended on maintaining a balance with its natural systems. The Guardian's example of utilizing the planet's resources without depleting them became a guiding principle for this new era of innovation. The Coalition's defeat also brought changes to the broader galactic community. The empires, humbled by their failure, began to adopt more collaborative approaches to governance and exploration. Alliances were formed to address common challenges, such as resource scarcity and interstellar trade. Earth, despite its relatively primitive technology, became a valued partner in these efforts, offering a unique perspective shaped by the Guardian's actions. While the threat of another invasion remained a distant possibility, the lessons of the conflict served as a deterrent. The Coalition's failure stood as a stark warning to any who might consider challenging Earth. The Guardian's presence, even in dormancy, ensured that the planet would not be underestimated again. This new reality allowed humanity to focus on rebuilding and preparing for the future without the constant fear of external threats. As time passed, the memory of the conflict evolved into legend. Stories of the Guardian and its defense of Earth became part of the planet's cultural fabric, celebrated in art, literature, and education. The Guardian's role as a protector was not just a historical fact but a symbol of what humanity could achieve when united. This legacy served as a reminder of the importance of preserving the planet and the responsibilities that came with its unique position in the galaxy. The conflict had ended, but its impact would shape Earth's future for generations. The Guardian's actions had secured not only the planet's survival but also its place in a larger, more complex universe. Humanity, now aware of its own potential and limitations, faced the challenges ahead with a renewed sense of purpose. The Guardian, silent and still, remained a sentinel of Earth's resilience, a testament to the strength of a planet and its people when pushed to their limits.